Hi, my name is David Callaghan, Principal Product Manager for Windows Devices. I'm here to talk with you today about Hotpatch update for Windows 11 24H2, and we'll also touch on Windows Server 2025 Data Center Azure Edition and Windows Server 2025 Data Center and Standard Editions with Azure Arc support. Data Center and Standard are for on-prem, and the Data Center Azure Editions are your cloud-based VMs. Let's take a look at today's agenda. First, we'll kick it off with an introduction to hot patching, explaining a little bit about the hot patching technology. Then we'll show a demo of what you can expect to experience on a Patch Tuesday when you install your security updates without a restart. Next, we'll talk about the Hotpatch servicing schedule. This is the frequency with which we release the Hotpatch updates. Then we'll look at the specific platforms. First, we'll talk about Hotpatching for Windows 11 24H2, how to get started with Autopatch to create your first update policy enabling Hotpatch, and then we'll look at Windows Server. We'll talk a little bit about the technology, the product roadmap, and we'll show you some of the screens required to set up Hotpatching for Windows Server. And again, we'll talk about the release notes and other key pieces of information. So let's get started with the introduction to hot patching. We understand the enterprises and IT admins are under a lot of pressure to secure the enterprise. It's a constant challenge as all of the technology and digital transformation moves key corporate assets into the digital domain, and computers are responsible for all the processes and workflows in an enterprise. And against that, we have a rise in cybercrime going after all these digital assets. IT is under enormous pressure to keep these systems patched and secure. And what that often means is more frequent updates that end up disrupting users with restarts. We all know this scenario all too well. And so while we all prioritize security, could we do something about the restarts and the disruption? And I'm happy to say the Hotpatch team and the Hotpatch technology is all about security and productivity. So let's talk a little bit about the technology. What's hot patching? It's the ability to install security patches without a restart. These updates install into memory without restarting the PC, server, processor applications. It's completely transparent. And I'm not talking about just one or two hot fixes. These are full Patch Tuesday cumulative security updates that install and take effect without a restart and give you the same level of security as if you took a standard update that requires a restart. And so the benefit here of hot patching is you can deploy these patches much faster because you don't disrupt your users with the restart. Let's look at a demo. So before I hit start on this playback, I want to set the scene here. I've divided the screen into 4 quadrants. In the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to show a video playback. And what this represents is a task that the user or system is doing that doesn't want to be interrupted. We talk about hot patches installing in memory without disrupting the user. And so below, I'm going to give transparency. We're going to look at the CPU monitor and system performance during the update process. In the upper left-hand corner is the all-familiar Windows Update, where I'll reach out, scan, download, and install the update. And in the bottom left-hand corner, I've got a command line interface where I'm showing the version of the operating system. And before we start the update process, this operating system's on version 2033. So now as I start the playback, I begin to check for updates. It's the standard process. It'll go out to Windows Update, download and install the patches. And while this process occurs, the user is not interrupted from their primary tasks. This is a little bit of a sped up version of the process for today's demo, but in a couple minutes, the machine will scan, download, and install. And you'll see that the operating system version is changed without a restart of the machine. We celebrate the update without a restart with the green banner shown in the upper left-hand corner. You can see now that this machine is fully secure. That's the new Patch Tuesday experience when you opt into hot patch updates. A similar thing will happen when you're updating Windows Server as well as Windows 11 24H2 devices. Let's look at the benefits. First up, you saw it, faster security. You can fully secure your machines without a restart. And so that means the user is secured the moment the patch downloads and installs. No more deferral and delays for the users to restart their machine before you know the enterprise is secured. The updates download and install in the background. The key benefit here is improved productivity. The non-disruptive updates ensure your servers have high availability and your users' productivity is not impacted, even though you're deploying these must-have patches as quickly as possible. And so that gets into the cost savings. Whether you're saving deployment costs or saving users' productivity, the faster patch velocity and simple orchestration of Hotpatch updates makes it the most cost-effective mechanism. Let's take a few minutes and look at the Hotpatch update release cycle. What I'm showing on the screen right now is what I'll call the standard servicing, what we're all familiar with on Patch Tuesday. These updates contain features, quality updates, as well as the cumulative OS security updates. These are released on Patch Tuesday, the second Tuesday of each month throughout the year. The Hotpatch servicing, on the other hand, is a separate release train that has the equivalent security fixes as the standard update. The Hotpatch servicing does not include features or quality updates. It's security-only updates. So machines that are going to do hot patching or standard servicing all start out on the same baseline, 4 times a year, shown here in the January, April, July, and off-screen would be October, are baseline months. This is when the machines that are doing hot patching or standard servicing are running the exact same code. I'll show the example now. So we all started off the new year in January on a baseline, meaning Hotpatch devices and standard update devices are all running the 1B standard update. When February comes along, Patch Tuesday, devices that have opted into hot patching will receive a 2B or February Hotpatch update that is a cumulative set of updates. It's the same security as the standard update, but it's only security updates. There's no features or no quality updates. You'll be on the Hotpatch update cycle for 2 months. So both February and March, you'll receive the Hotpatch updates. And then when April comes along, the machines that are on the Hotpatch train or the standard servicing train all receive the same update, the April update. If you look at the diagram here, you can see quickly that machines that opt into hot patching don't receive the features for 2 months, but they get caught up in April. So that's the cycle, and it repeats each quarter throughout the year. Microsoft always prioritizes security over everything else. So if there's ever an instance where we couldn't meet the same security bar for the Hotpatch update as well as the standard update, then we would cancel the Hotpatch update for that month and we would release a standard update only. IT admins can opt in and opt out of the Hotpatch updates at any time. So if you take a Hotpatch update, for example, as shown here in March, and you decide later on that you would much rather have the standard update installed, you can simply install the standard update on top of the Hotpatch update, and that machine will be on the March standard update baseline. That machine won't be eligible for a Hotpatch again until it goes through the April baseline and rejoins the cycle. Let's look specifically at hot patching for Windows 11 24H2. Hot patching was first made available in Windows 11 24H2 back in November post the Ignite announcement. And it provides monthly security updates on Patch Tuesday, managed by Autopatch, which ensures the PC is fully secured without the need to restart, providing the benefits of security and productivity. So the required operating system for hot patching on Windows 11 is 24H2 or later. We support both the AMD 64 and the ARM 64 CPUs. The updates are quarterly update cycles, as I showed in the previous slide. We plan for 8 hot patch releases per year, and the updates contain only security fixes. To get hot patching on Windows 11 24H2, it's managed via Autopatch, which is available via the Windows Enterprise E3, E5, and F3 licenses. Hotpatch is also offered for Windows 365 and Azure Virtual Desktop. Those are the cloud PCs. Let's look at a demo of configuring a Hotpatch update policy. So I mentioned a moment ago, Autopatch is required to create an update policy to enable hot patching. So let's look at a video showing the workflow. Here in this example, we go down to Windows Updates and create a new quality update policy. We simply create the new policy And in this example, we'll give it the name Quality Update. Okay, next. This is the magic to opt into Hotpatching. The second slider here on the screen is how you enable Hotpatching to offer the Hotpatch update to eligible devices. So now when we go to our group of devices and add them to this policy, the Windows 24H2 devices that are added to this policy will be offered the Hotpatch update if they're eligible, and the Windows 10 or any other non-eligible OS will still receive the standard update each month. And that is all it takes to create the policy, and now we're ready to update the devices. So the key takeaway there was what's different and what's new with Hotpatching is when you create the quality update policy, you need to create a new policy and opt in to allow the Hotpatch updates to the devices that are eligible. And when the device receives the Hotpatch update, you saw in the earlier demo, it's celebrated with the green ribbon that announces the update was installed without a restart. I also want to take a moment to mention that the Hotpatch updates, as we'll get into more of the details here, are just another KB with an OS version that shows up in the update history. You can easily uninstall the Hotpatch update and scan, download, and reinstall it. The uninstalling of a Hotpatch update is a really quick process, so if you ever give it a try, you might be surprised how quick it takes. But uninstalling a Hotpatch does require a restart of the computer. Under Advanced Options Configured Update Policies, you can see that there's a policy on this device that enables Hotpatch updates when available. This mirrors the setting in Autopatch. You heard me mention quite a few times about devices being eligible for Hotpatch. One of the things I'm really talking about here is enabling the virtualization-based security. VBS is an operating system setting that enables, as it's called, virtualization-based security. And this is a prerequisite for the Hotpatch update installer to function. If VBS isn't enabled, the device won't be offered Hotpatch updates. So this is the number one pain point or troubleshooting step with customers. They add a device to the Hotpatch update policy, and they report the devices aren't receiving the Hotpatch update. When we investigate, it turns out the machine, whether it's a client or a server, has failed to set the VBS setting. So there's a couple ways to do it. First, you can set VBS using a group policy. The second way, shown here in option 2, is set a registry key on the device and restart the machine. You do this one time and VBS will be enabled for future updates. And lastly, you can go to your device's Windows settings and you'll see the memory integrity setting. That also turns on VBS. So any one of these three options are all equivalent to enable VBS on your machine and be eligible for the Hotpatch update. And the slides today, you'll see the QR codes. This will take you to some of the MS Learn pages to learn more about enabling VBS. How do you know if a machine has VBS on or not? You can go to the System Information dialog, scroll to the bottom, and here I've highlighted with a red box, Virtualization-Based Security is running. You want to see this state so that you know the machine has VBS enabled and it's been restarted and VBS is running. Now this machine is eligible for Hotpatch update. There's one other prerequisite I want to talk about, especially during the public preview phase that we're currently in for Hotpatching on Windows 11 24H2. I mentioned we support the ARM64 PCs. ARM64 has a compatible hybrid portable execution file format called Chippy for short that has to do with emulation on the ARM devices. And Hotpatching is not compatible with the use of Chippy. So there's a registry key you need to manually set and restart the machine so that your ARM machines are eligible and fully secure when they install the Hotpatch update. Here you can see I call it out HKey local machine, system current control set, control session manager, memory management, create a DWORD key value, Hotpatch restrictions, notice the case sensitivity here, set it equal to 1, and restart the machine. We document this in the MS Learn pages, shown here with the QR code. And it's important that you restart the machine after setting this value. That way, Chippy is disabled, and the machine will download and install Hotpatch updates and secure the machine. The other key piece I want to call out here is that you want to do adequate testing. Some machines or applications may have a dependency on Chippy, and so you want to make sure that you test and flight this. Once you set this setting on a machine and you restart the machine after baseline months or others, Chippy will maintain its status as being disabled, and so you only have to set this key one time. How do you know when the Hotpatch releases are going to occur? One of the most useful things to track down and bookmark is the Hotpatch release schedule. And here I'm showing the page that shows the release calendar. And here we can see 1B starts off as a baseline month. And as I said earlier, we're planning the 2B and 3B Hotpatch months. If we ever have to change the update schedule, this is one of the first places you could go to look to see, will next month's update be a Hotpatch or a baseline, and plan your activities accordingly. The second part about release notes that's really important to notice is I'm showing here the December, the 12B Hotpatch update and standard update from just a few months ago. Here on the left is the standard update. It has its own unique KB number, 48667, and the OS version is 26100.2605. The Hotpatch public preview that month had a different KB number, the 48794, and the version 26100.2528. And so it's important to understand that during Hotpatch months, the machines that are patched will have a different OS version than the machines that receive the standard update. The other thing you can notice about this pattern is that the standard update version will always be higher than the Hotpatch version. So if you were doing configuration or compliance management during the Hotpatch month, you want to see an operating system that's the Hotpatch version number or higher. And during standard months, you'll want to track against the standard OS version number. The QR codes here again link to these respective pages. And anytime we have prerequisites or other known issues, we'll make sure we update them on the release notes on these two pages. So now let's turn our attention to Hotpatch for server. Hotpatch for server, similar to what it works for on client, provides patch security on Patch Tuesdays, and the server is managed by Azure Update Manager for servers running on Azure, or we also now support on-premise, where you can enable the Hotpatch feature via Azure Arc, ensuring that the server is fully secured without needing a restart. So on Azure, in general availability, is Windows Server 2022 and 2025 Data Center Azure editions. And on-prem, we have Windows Server 2025 Data Center Edition, as well as Standard Edition. These are the full server, as well as the desktop and core experiences. The update types are quarterly update cycles. We still have the same 8 Hotpatch releases per year. And again, like client, these are security-only fixes. I want to take a moment and talk a little bit about the server roadmap. Hotpatch has been available on Windows Server since February of 2022. We announced the general availability, and we've been patching Azure Cloud VMs ever since. One thing to note is you must use a Gen 2 VM when you're using Hotpatch on Azure. Recently, this past October 2024, we announced the GA of Windows Server 2025 Data Center Azure Edition. Again, requires a Gen 2 VM. And as I showed earlier when I was speaking about the client, these servers must also have VBS enabled for Hotpatching to be eligible. And most recently, we announced Windows Server 2025 Azure Arc Connected Data Center and Standard Edition. This allows you to use Azure Arc to connect to your servers and opt in to a Hotpatch subscription. And again, you need VBS enabled, and this you can do both on-prem or in the cloud. So to set up a VM and enable Hotpatch, you go to your standard Azure portal, and when you create the VM, you select your architecture and you enable the image to be Hotpatch enabled. And so here on the left, I'm selecting Windows Server 2025 Data Center Azure Edition Gen 2 VM. And on the right side here, I'm showing that when I create the VM in the Azure portal, I'm enabling Hotpatch and allowing Azure to orchestrate the Hotpatch updates. When I showed early on in the presentation today, the update train, the release cycle, Azure will automatically manage the baseline and Hotpatch months for you. When you want to create a Azure Hotpatch enabled VM using PowerShell, I include here the publisher, offer, and SKU IDs. When you connect Azure Arc to your on-prem servers, you can enable the device to Hotpatch and enroll in a Hotpatch subscription. And here in the center of the screen, I'm showing the tile that you would click on to enroll each server that you want to enable hot patching on into the subscription. And here you can see that I have Azure Update Manager managing the updates for this machine. The resource type I'm showing is Arc enabled server, and it's currently going to be enabled for hot patching. And when you do that, the Azure Update Manager will manage the patches for you. Lastly, similar to what you saw for client, the server hot patch releases are tracked in the release notes on the MS Learn site. And here we can see that the same update release cadence for server applies to client. The baseline months are 1B, 4B, 7B, and 10B, and we plan for 8 hot patch releases per year. And similar to client is the hot patches for server have individual KB OS version numbers, and the hot patch update is tracked with a different OS and a different KB number than the standard update. And the reason why behind that is there's 2 different payloads. The hot patch payload is security only fixes, and the standard update contains both security fixes as well as quality and feature updates. So now let's look at what it takes to get started. Back in December, we wrote a skilling snack that provides an overview of several helpful articles to get you started on your journey with Hotpatch for Windows Client and Windows Server. I strongly recommend you take a look at this set of articles. It starts off with an AMA video recording with myself and my team, where we had experts from the Intune team as well as the Hotpatch team answering live questions. And that should be a really good resource to get started with, as well as links to the MS Learn articles on hot patching for specific details and many of the prerequisites I mentioned earlier today, how to enable VBS and disable Chippy for ARM. Scan the QR code to get access to the skilling snacks. And lastly, on behalf of my team, thank you for spending time with us today to learn more about hot patching. The team is so proud of this technology because of the promise it offers, both the security and productivity. Whether you're running on premises with your clients 24H2, or you have server on-prem with Azure Arc connected, or whether you're running your VM workloads in the cloud with the Azure Data Center editions, hot patching is available to secure your enterprise as quickly as possible with minimum disruption. So hopefully the information I presented today on the prerequisites and how to track the version information through the KBs will get you on your journey, and we look forward to your feedback. So it's really important to let you know that myself and my team, we're all looking for your feedback and comments to the KB articles and the MS Learn pages, as well as in-product feedback. When you submit a feedback on the Windows Update screens, it comes back to me and my team, and we're looking at that feedback to help us improve the product and plan for new features in the future. So I strongly encourage you to take advantage of that so that my team can meet your needs in the future. Thank you.